Hey Travis, thanks for using Racers360. A really great lap overall. You look really solid, especially being very new to the sport. I think we got some great things that we can work on here, especially in the areas that you had mentioned in your notes into the video. So let's go ahead. We're going to go down to turn one. And I'm going to show you one of the things that I see pretty consistently throughout the lap. So your braking point, I think, looks good. I think we can work on braking slightly deeper, rolling more entry speed. And I'm going to go frame by frame here. I'm going to show you why I think that. And what I want you to do at this point is let's take a look and be looking at our brake and throttle here. We're going to go a little bit deeper into the corner. And what we're going to see is we're now starting to pick up the throttle before we're even at the apex curve. And one thing that we never want to do as drivers, well, we very rarely ever want to do is start to pick up the throttle before we get to the apex curve. That's one way. If we're starting to do that, what's going on is our body's telling us, hey, we're over slowing. We've got to get to throttle. But what ends up happening is we take the weight off the front nose, we're creating understeer, and that's going to really take away our ability to get to full throttle earlier. So what I'd rather see you do here is brake slightly deeper or lighter, carry the brakes until we get to about at least till we get to the apex curve. And this is where I'd like to see you get to throttle. And you can see here, you've spent a lot of time now at a little bit of throttle. So I'd rather see you be more patient to initial throttle, and that'll allow you to get to full throttle earlier, because then when you start to get to throttle, you're unwinding the wheel rather than having to add wheels. So you're just making it harder on yourself by picking up the throttle too early here. So I think ultimately we can just try to roll more speed at turn one, be more patient to throttle. On the exit, just a quick note here, if we can look here, I think we have a lot of room that we're not using here. It's probably about a half car width. Try to open those hands earlier, use all of the road here, and that'll actually help you get to full throttle here. And that just makes your life easier. That's free time there. So get your eyes up on exit, open those hands as early as possible. Moving a little bit farther forward. We look good through here. Yep, nice using all the road here. Setting up for turn two. See what we're looking at. Getting ready. And immediately what I'm looking at here, I'm going to back it up, don't worry. The same thing, if we take a look at where we are on track, immediately I'm seeing, hey, we're going to throttle, and again, we're not at the apex curve yet. So once again, into turn two here, I think that we can be braking deeper and then trying to hold that trail braking longer into the corner. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly what the right braking point is. If we go back, let's see where we're braking. We're braking just before the three board. I would say, hey, we could probably sneak this to just past the three board, or actually get right to the three board, give or take. But before we work on the initial brake point, what I want you to do is keep braking the same point. And then when your body's saying, hey, I'm overslowing, tell yourself, no, I'm not allowed to get to throttle until we at least get to this point right around the apex curve, but I'd rather see you wait till about here. And what's going to start happening is you're going to start feeling, I'm so slow, but I'm not allowed to get throttle, and naturally you'll start rolling more speed into the apex. And I think that's going to be a better thing than trying to get to throttle, because what happens here is it's really tight here, and you're making the understeer harder to keep it to the left, so you're having to overslow to keep it to the left. Again, here, I don't think we have to be so aggressive to keep it left here. I'd rather see you flow, if I go back just a little bit here, I'd rather see you flow a little bit more speed, and rather than seeing you kind of hold it along this side here, I'd rather see you open up just a little bit and then try to work it back to the left before coming back to the right. Just be a little, let the car be slightly more free here, rather than being so far to the left. That'll just help everything be a little bit more smooth, flow a little bit more speed, and you're still almost all the way to the left. So you have the right idea, just a little less of that would be good. So start playing again here. Right here, I think we look good through here. Again, just as we can see here, there is just a little bit more road that we can be using. And it's not much, it's just a little bit, but every little bit counts here. It's just you're binding up the car unnecessarily. So we could just open up those hands earlier, and that'll help you get to full throttle. So I know this is one of the sections that you had really wanted us to kind of focus in on, and you felt like you're losing time here. So we'll pick apart this a little bit more detail for you. So we're braking, we're turning in. And again, we're quite early to throttle here. We're still throttle before we get to the apex curve. So similar theme as what we're seeing throughout every corner so far is we're just overslowing the entries. We're getting to throttle too early. We're creating the understeer, making it even worse for us. And then it's not allowing us to get to full throttle where really we're leading onto this long straightaway here. Getting onto full throttle is critical in this corner. So let's try to roll slightly more speed, braking slightly deeper, but really braking lighter and longer through the second half of the brake zone. So once you've reached your peak pressure, think to yourself, let me start to peel off that peak pressure and just carry a tiny little brakes, just like your toes on the brake pedal. And what's going on is you're really not doing that to slow down the car. You're doing that to keep the weight on the front nose. And where the weight is where the grip is. So that'll allow you to roll more speed, have more front grip. And then when you're getting the throttle, you're unwinding the wheels, so you've got more traction. So I think we can delay our initial throttle to about this point right here. You know, I can see this apex curve. I wouldn't delay it that far, but really to where the meat of this curve is, I think that's where we can be delaying our throttle. So let's just go back it up just a little bit to take a look at that. So as you're looking at it visually coming into the corner, let's go ahead and make this green, make it a little bit easier to see. I'd like to see you trail braking to about here and then trying to get to throttle in about that box, right around there. And that'll allow you to get to a throttle more aggressively here. And that'll help you all the way down the straightaway. So going back, throttle, throttle, throttle. You know, you look pretty good here. We always are talking about using all the track on exit. Not bad. We still have a little bit of room that we're looking at here. So just keep your eyes up. Make sure you're looking for that exit way before you even get to the apex. And open those hands as early as possible, because I think we could be full throttle already here using that track out curve. And every little bit counts. All righty. So going a little farther forward here through turn 6. I think through turn 6 you look good. I think most of the problem there is turn 5. Just trying to roll a bit more apex speed will really help. See how we look here. Very nice. So if we look at here, we're rolling the brakes much deeper into the corner, and I think that's a much better job. Everything looks smoother. So I think your entry is great here. But similar to the previous chicane where you were very aggressive and holding it right, which is the right idea. I think we're just too aggressive. So I would rather see you kind of come out a little bit more, try to work your way to the right, and then turn back to the left here, where you look a little bit more just hugging here. And I think this might be better at this section, but you lose so much right here that it ends up being a negative. So just let the car be slightly more free, maybe a half car width, and bring it back to the right. And I think you might even be able to get all the way back to the right before turning in. Just let the car be free a little bit through this section. Again here, because this goes back to, I think we're overslowing a little bit to hold it all the way right. And what's confirming that in my mind is we're really, really early to throttle, and we're nowhere near this curb. What I'd like to see you try to do then is roll more speed out of the first part of the chicane. So you're faster right here, and you're rolling more speed down to the apex, and that'll allow you to not need to go to throttle so early, and you'll be able to roll more speed. So just let the car be more free, get it more aggressive on throttle out of the last corner. You'll be quicker into this corner, keep rolling the speed, and then hopefully we can just be a little bit more patient to throttle. This looks more like an entry speed corner than an exit speed corner, especially because we have some more corners coming up right after the fact. So very nice, throttle, throttle, throttle. You know, again here, I think we are too aggressive holding it to the inside to set up for the next corner. You know, so we end up about here, and then you're immediately kind of holding it back to the left. I would like to, that was a little bit not enough. But I'd like to see you once again, let the car be free back there and then back into the right. I think overall, we're pinching the car, and what's going to happen is we're creating more understeer that can eventually turn into a snap oversteer as well. So just keep your eyes up, let it be a little bit more free, use more room in between. We've got a lot of time to get back to the left. So here, we're probably maybe a quarter of the way, maybe a third of a car width off from the left. I think we could be almost mid-road and still get back to the left to set up for this next right-hander. Here we are. So again, if we're looking here, this is probably what I would say we need to focus on the most. Actually, let me make this red stand out. We're not near the apex curve yet, and we are getting to throttle. So we've talked about that. That's going to be the most consistent thing we need to focus on to help. So we're overslowing the previous corner to keep it to the left, which is a little unnecessary because now we're also too slow into this right-hander. So I'd like to see you flow more speed in here. Again, trail braking or at least off the throttle until this point. Roll more speed and then pick up the throttle after we get to that first curve. So let's go a little bit farther forward. And you can see, as we're looking here, we're still at the same amount of throttle as where you started, where at this point we could be pretty linearly getting to full throttle. And everything there will help. It's always a compromise between initial throttle and full throttle. And really we want, if you look at a graph from no throttle to full throttle, we want it to look pretty much like this, where yours looks more like this, if that makes sense. Going a little bit farther forward here. I think you look pretty good through this corner. Again, just slightly, we're holding it too tight, too much to set up for the next corner. Let it be a little bit more free through this section. You end up probably mid-road, and you still have time to bring it back to the left here. I like the apex. One thing I've noticed here is we have, and I think this is something due to your eyes, we have a ton of room out here that we're not using. So I think we are overslowing that corner. Really, let me back it up so we can kind of take a look at it from the entry standpoint, but we want to make sure we're using all of the track before, as early as possible. So really, if we look at this section right here, what I'm doing is I want really before you even get here, let's back it up even a little bit more. From about this point, my guess is your eyes are still around here. I'd rather see your eyes looking for the exit. And what's going to happen is as we go a little bit farther forward, right at this point, I would say you're still turning adding wheel. I'd like to see you start opening the wheel already and really have, if your line looks more like this, I'd rather see you start opening it up and use the road, and that'll allow the car to work less. You've got a wider radius, you can roll more speed, make things easier for you. So just really get your eyes up, use all of the track here. So you can see, look to our left there, tons of room out there. We eventually get there, but it's just, we have to hold it too much. So we get to this right point, let's just get out there earlier. So let's see here. So once again, similar issue. It looks like you want to get almost all of your braking done before you turn in. It's like you hold the brakes and then you want to turn in. I'd like to see you at this point start trailing off those brakes, have less pressure, carry the brakes. So you're the throttle here, carry the brakes until here. And this is where I want to see you get to the initial throttle point. Throttling out here. Nice job. I like it through here. Again, I think we could get to full throttle earlier and worry less about holding it all the way to the left here. So we can just let the car be a little bit more free and bring it back to the left where you're kind of keeping it straight left here. So just kind of the similar theme as other corners. Let it be a little bit more free. That'll allow you to get to full throttle earlier. Very nice here. So again, we're not using all of the track on exit. We have probably about a half car width or so here. Make sure your eyes are up, open those hands, use the road here. I think that'll allow you to get to full throttle up here earlier. and just be a little bit faster. And we have plenty of time to get back to the right, so use all of the track here. Through here, entry speed looks good to me. Using all the road, that looks awesome through there. So let's take a look at the last corner. So one thing I would say is, if we back it up, I just noticed that when you get off of full throttle, it's a pretty long gap before you brake. You kind of are doing nothing for a while here. So we're kind of full throttle off, and then how long it is to brake. Try to carry that full throttle a little bit longer. And my guess is if you keep your eyes up, focus on where you're looking. You know, right now at this point, I want you looking past the apex even. That'll allow you to naturally start to bring more speed into here. Oops. And then, yep, that looks good. I think you look good through here. There's probably a little bit more entry speed available there, but the line looks good. I think we're just nitpicking a little bit there. Into this last corner here, similar to everywhere else, we're holding the brake at the peak pressure, and you feel like you just want to get all your braking done before you turn in. I'd rather see you have half the amount of pressure carrying the brakes, and I'd like to see you turn in a little bit earlier. I think we have too late of an apex here. So if you look like, if you're going straight and then kind of doing one of these, I'd like to see you have a little bit less aggressive of a line and kind of start bending it in just slightly earlier, rolling more speed to the apex there. So if we go a little bit farther forward, so I would say start turning in at this point. You're turning in over here, holding the brakes too long. I'd like to see you trail braking all the way to here. And at this point, look, you've actually gotten to throttle, and then you've had to take some off. So if we go a little bit previous here, we actually have more throttle. If we're looking at the throttle top right there, we come off of it a little bit, and then we start applying it again. So once again, delay that initial throttle just a little bit to about this point here, pick it up, and you'll be able to get more aggressive to it. And then from here, you're still not at full throttle. So I think if we delay that, you'll be at full throttle by now, holding the line. You look good through here at this point. Last corner is great. So overall, nice lap. Thanks again for using Racers360. All I would say is let's try to carry the trail brake later, deeper into the corner, roll more apex speed, delay that initial throttle pretty much everywhere to at least we get to the apex curbing, but hopefully even past that. That'll allow you to start unwinding the wheel when you get to throttle. If you really think about that while you're out there, it'll feel slower initially, but you'll start to be able to roll more speed over time, and that'll really help you. And then on the chicanes, we're just carrying the car, holding the car too far to the inside. Let it be a little bit more free everywhere, and that everything will just start to feel more like a rhythm. So hopefully this has been helpful for you, and we look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully see you on track soon. Thank you.